Welcome to the Virtual Training Company's preparation tutorial for the Microsoft 7298 exam. This tutorial here will get you ready for the Designing Security for a Server 2003 Network exam, one of the electives that you can take in your path towards the MCSE certification. My name is Brian Culp. I am an MCSE, MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer, and I'm also certified for A+. Certified A+ Technician. And I'll be your tour guide, talking you through some of the design considerations as we secure a Server 2003 environment. So this chapter here introduces you to this topic, some of the test objectives, and just discusses what we'll be talking about throughout this tutorial. In Chapter 1, we start with a look at the network infrastructure security design. So talking about some of the analysis that goes into designing your network, and that would include an analysis of the organizational requirements for securing the data, the security requirements for different kinds of data, what needs to be secured, and how would we secure that. We also look in this chapter at predicting threats to your network from internal and external sources. So just really in the first chapter here, we identify some of the design features and some of the types of data that might need to be secured in your particular environment. In Chapter 2, then, we talk about the considerations for actually creating that security framework. So here in this chapter, we talk about such issues as designing segmented networks to separate network traffic. That's one way you can implement security. We will design a process for recovering services. One way to keep certainly your data safe is to make sure that services are running at all times and what happens when they fail. We'll identify the capabilities of any existing infrastructure. Can the software and hardware in your network provide the security that your business or your network needs? And we'll also analyze interoperability constraints, working with other types of software and hardware platforms. In Chapter 3, we will look at the logical security design, and here we will discuss such things as designing a certification authority hierarchy. We will distribute certificates or talk about how to design certificate distribution to either applications or to users throughout your network. We will establish password requirements for security. We will also design a strategy for identifying computers that are not at the current patch level. One important feature that you'll hear me reiterate throughout this entire tutorial is that you can implement security by making sure that your computer's software is up to date. In Chapter 4, we move from the logical to physical security design, and here we will design IP filtering strategies. We will design an IPsec policy, IP security policy, to secure internet traffic and even traffic between two computers within a local area network if need be. We'll also secure a DNS implementation for name resolution, and we will design security for any wireless networks that we may implement. And certainly those are becoming more and more popular and common today. In Chapter 5, we'll design secure communication between networks. So here we look at issues such as security for IIS. We'll also design VPN connectivity. We'll define a baseline security template for all server systems. So some of the things we'll do in Chapter 5. In Chapter 6, we'll design an access control strategy for data, so determining who gets what kind of access to what kinds of data. In this chapter, we'll create a delegation strategy. We will design a group strategy for accessing resources, defining what groups get access to what. We'll design a permission structure for directory service objects if people need access to items in Active Directory, and we will design a permission structure for files and folders as well. In Chapter 7, then, the final chapter of this tutorial, we'll create the physical design for client infrastructure security, and here in this chapter we'll look at such issues as establishing account and password security requirements, remote access policies, and we'll also design a strategy for hardening a client operating system. So these are the types of things we'll be looking at throughout this tutorial here. We are running, of course, a platform of Server 2003 here, which I've installed, and we'll be looking around, certainly the operating system, but just a quick word of warning about the 7298 exam. This is not an exam about implementation. It is an exam about design. And therefore, a lot of the topics, a lot of the modules in this tutorial have to do with just talking points and getting you to think about proper design of security in your network. A lot of what we do here throughout this course is done really in pen and paper or with you planning or talking to other people and investigating. It's not, again, really about implementation. The implementation comes in previous courses, previous tests, where we actually create a certification authority, for example, or we actually create IP filtering. We will mention that here, and we'll discuss the button pushing or the implementation where necessary, but again, for the most part, most of this course focuses, as the title would suggest, it focuses on design.